Hello, everyone. This is Ibarionex from the Candid Frame, again with a atypical episode because we're still trying to recover from the Eaton fire, which, if some of you hadn't heard the previous episode, my wife and I lost our home and my studio in the recent Eaton fires down here in Southern California. So for the last month and 2 days to be exact, we've been without a place. We stayed initially at a hotel for a couple of weeks, and for the last several weeks, we've been in a back house that a friend of a friend let us rent until near the end of February. We're supposed to be out by February 25th, and we are in search of a more long-term residence of at least a year lease. And I can't believe I'm going to be a renter again. Navigating those waters, I got to tell you, man, it's strange after God knows how many years of being a homeowner, delving back into the world of having to pull out my W-2s and bank statements and credit reports in order to prove that I'm a responsible adult is really freaking strange and uncomfortable on so many counts. But this is a journey of a lot of discomfort and getting used to it. And no, I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I don't think anybody really can. But that aside, I just want to thank everyone who has supported us over the past month, both financially and just reaching out with kind words. And just, you guys have been really amazing to us. It's been very encouraging to face such a difficult thing, but to know that we have family and friends and fans from all over the world who are really doing their best to help us in any way that they can. It really has made me appreciate, as I said in the last episode, the life that we've created for ourselves. And I just wanted to catch you up on what's happening, which is pretty much the same. It's going to be a long journey in terms of rebuilding. And I learn something every day, some things that make me hopeful and some things that make me very despondent or anxious for a few moments. But I try and turn it over as best I can because there's only so much I can do during the course of the day. And I just try to stay focused on those things that I need to do, whether it's dealing with FEMA or dealing with insurance or all those things. If you never have gone through it, and God, I hope you never go through anything like this. It is no cakewalk. And I was so ignorant of so many things, but I'm now having to learn it all. But I have a lot of people that I can turn to and ask questions. And that's one of the things that I'm glad that I'm capable of doing that I can't say I would have been ready to do even 20 years ago, which is to ask for help. And to ask for information from people who know far more than me, whether it's a contractor, whether it's someone involved in insurance or disaster, whatever. I have to admit that I am out of my little space of knowledge. Being a photographer and a writer only gets me so far in terms of contending with all this. But God, I'm just rambling because as usual, I'm not working with a script and I'm not talking to anybody else but myself and to you. I've learned some things that I think would be invaluable to you, just in terms of things that were beneficial for me. So early, it's still very early. On the top of that is have a cloud backup. I walked out of my studio with nothing more than my hard drive with my digital archive of about 8 terabytes and an earthquake kit. Everything else I left behind. I had my laptop with me, but in terms of my studio, everything else, including the camera equipment, the photo books, the secondary and the tertiary hard drives, I left behind. But all of that stuff was on the cloud, including my main hard drive. And had I not taken my main hard drive, thankfully, all of those files would still have been on the cloud. But I always knew that if something happened, I was going to grab that hard drive. But I was so grateful that that backup was there. I use a service called Backblaze. And this is not a promo. And they don't advertise for the show, but I've been using them for a while. They're very inexpensive and affordable. And if you don't have a cloud backup for your system, I recommend that you check them out. I'll include a link in the show notes so you can find out about them. And if you choose to register, I get the benefit of not having to pay for the service for a month. So, but whether or not, you use the link that I'm going to include in the show notes or not, seriously consider getting a backup with respect to that. So in terms of just photography, that's a big thing I would recommend for any photographer. Unfortunately, most of my analog archive went up in smoke, so there was little to be done with that. But, if you have an analog archive of negatives and slides that are important to you, you might want to have a setup so that when the moment comes, you'll be able to grab that bag or box of, negatives and film and maybe prints and, walk out the door with them and know that they're secure. The second thing just comes on an insurance point of view. We're underinsured. We didn't know that at the time, but now that the house is gone and we're faced with the prospect of having to rebuild, I can testify absolutely that the money that our insurance company wants to give us is not enough to rebuild our house so that we get what we had before. And, I was clueless. And I'm not beating myself up for it. I just didn't know. I just didn't know any better. I always looked at insurance as there to fix things when they broke, but never imagined that I would need it should I lose everything, which is really the whole point of having insurance, is if you lose everything, that you get it replaced exactly as it was. But I have learned that sometimes insurance companies don't necessarily write policies with that in mind. And they will take advantage of your ignorance to be able to get your monthly payment, knowing that if they ever have to pay out, it's not going to give you what you think it should give you. So if you own a home, I would really recommend that you check your policy. And if you need to amend it to reflect the current cost of rebuilding. Like I said, hopefully you'll never have to tap into those funds. But man, I wish I had known that even a couple of years ago. We would have likely have made some changes, even though they likely would have resulted in a much more expensive insurance policy. But going forward, I know that that's something we are definitely going to keep in mind, even though I have no doubt it is going to be considerably more expensive. I think that's it for lessons that I'll pass on. I'm sure there are other things that I had in mind about sharing today, but I have no clue. My head's a scramble. The first 3 weeks were incredibly exhausting. I have never been more fatigued in my life. I came home one day after just hours and hours of just dealing with different agencies and filling out paperwork and answering questions. And my wife asked me if I had been drinking. And I'm not much of a drinker. But man, I was so exhausted. I was talking incredibly slow, just conserving what little energy I had left. And I was so depleted. I barely managed to walk through the door. I don't know how I managed to drive myself home, but that's where I was at. And it's so, losing the house is one thing. Losing everything in the house, all that stuff, yeah, that's one thing. But man, the journey afterwards of trying to recover from all this, that's the challenge. That's the frustration. That's the time and the energy suck, which is unlike anything I have ever experienced. And I have such great empathy for people who have lost everything. You see people who experience this in the news, be it by a natural disaster or war, and having lost everything. And I now understand how devastating that can be. But more importantly, I know how devastating it can be to rebuild and to restore a life into something that was like it was before. Yeah, it's not an easy thing. But I can only say that it would be all the more difficult if I or my family were doing it alone. And we are so blessed that we're not doing it alone. We have so many friends and family and, people who I don't know, who have known through the show, who have reached out and given me valuable resources and leads to how to navigate this new world that I'm in. And I'm so, so grateful. And that's helped me maintain a degree of gratitude in the midst of all of this. A lot of people, struggle with what to say to me or to other people who have lost their homes. And they say, I really don't know what to say. And there isn't a perfect or an ideal thing to say other than I'm sorry that you lost everything. And more importantly, just being present. It's like when someone loses a loved one, what's more important is not that you say the perfect thing, is just being there for the person. There have been some people who have taken us out to dinner or just hung out with me or Cynthia together. And those moments have been life-saving because for that period of time, it takes our thoughts off of all the things that we have to do, including all those hours that we spend hunkered down over a small kitchen table, filling out paperwork, making prints, making copies for all these endless bureaucracies that are demanding our attention and making sure that we, dot every I and cross every T. And, you're terrified that you're going to do something wrong every time you sit down to do this kind of stuff. And you just got to do the best you can. And that's what I'm doing. Just trying to do the best that I can. And I'm surprisingly okay most days, which, considering what's happened, surprises me. But I think that, my personal journey over the last couple of decades has really helped me become the person that can handle this relatively well. Not that I do it every day really well, but I couldn't have dealt with this 20 years ago. That's for damn sure. The guy I was 20 years ago would be at a complete loss as to how to deal with this without panicking and just being constantly in fear. And for the most part, I'm not in fear. I'm anxious. I get tense. I experience self-doubt, but not to the degree that it becomes paralyzing or that I lose faith that in the end I'm going to be okay. I'm just going to do the best that I can and know that in the end, whatever that end is, whether it's 2, 3, 5 years from now, hopefully no more than 5 years, then I'll be able to look back and know that I'm okay. So I know I'm just rambling. I usually don't ramble. I usually cut all this stuff out because it's, not really part of the show, but I just wanted to put something out there for you guys so you have an understanding of where we're at and why the show has kind of halted, and it's not a permanent thing. We're looking for a place right now, and as soon as we are settled in and we have a place that we're committed to staying for a year, I'm just going to procure all the equipment that I need to start recording the show and doing the interviews. I got a wonderful donation of a microphone and a recording kit. And I have my laptop, but I need a space where I can really just feel comfortable talking and interviewing people for the show, because I really miss that. I miss those conversations, and they've always been one of the best parts of what I do, is having those conversations with photographers and really just enjoying sharing and talking about something that I love so much. And I'm trying to photograph up in Altadena, and I just don't have enough time. I've gone there a couple of times. I'm probably going to write a post on my Substack this week. So if you're not subscribed to my Substack, please do. And then you'll see 2 posts that I've already made there, but a third is coming at some point. It's not the biggest priority right now, but I'm committed to trying getting it done this week, finally. Yeah, I think that's it. If you wanna continue to support us financially, we could really do with it. As I've mentioned, the insurance companies have not been fun to contend with, both the auto insurance and the home insurance, particularly the car insurance. That was a real pain in the ass. I'm not even going to get into that. But yeah, those contributions that people have made have been really invaluable to us over the past month and will continue to be so going forward. So my wife set up a GoFundMe, and that's great. And you can support us using the GoFundMe. We also have a BuyMeACoffee that we've had for a while to support the show. I have my eBooks that you can purchase online. And if you want to forego using any of those services and just want to Zelle me or Venmo us funds directly, just email me at eBodyNX@thecandidframe.com, and I'll give you that info so you can do that. But there's no amount too small to help support us, because every dollar is making a huge, huge difference. But last thing, I'm having to do laundry at a laundromat, and I haven't had to do that in years. And man, is that expensive. Doing several loads of laundry and dry was about $25. Man, I appreciate how spoiled I was having my own washer and dryer and not having to sit there and repeatedly put money into a slot because the dryer is not drying it in adequate time. So you have to do 2 or 3 cycles before the towels or the comforter are completely dry. Real pain. It's great for the people who own the laundromat. And if you own the laundromat, I understand how you make your money. But for me as a user, it is frustrating. But I look forward to a day, even as a renter, I don't have to contend with that. That's a point. It's a point that's been made, and I won't return to it again, because who wants to hear about that? But thank you. Thank you for being there, for your support. Thanks again to Patria Burchard for lending me her voiceover booth here in Pasadena so that I can record this and the previous episode. And hopefully this will be the last time that I have to inconvenience her and her wonderful husband, John, to record an episode. So take care, God bless, and I'll see you next time.